Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey Mohammed, good evening. Sorry, I'm a little late.
Okay, I was about to leave. All right,
Thanks.
no problem. No problem. Okay, so just give me a couple of more minutes, okay? You can settle down, take 2 to 3 minutes. I'll be back.
Thanks.
Thank you.
என்னடா வேணும் ஆதர்ஷ்?
Hello, I'm back.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I had my breakfast started, so
Oh,
I finished it.
okay, okay.
All right, so,
How was your weekend? Good?
um, actually tight. I
Hmm.
was a little busy over the weekend. And tomorrow, I think we will not be able to get onto the session. I will be traveling to Bangalore
Okay,
for a day. So, I'll drop the email as soon as I come back.
sure.
It's a day schedule, but if there is any change, I'll let you know. Okay, so where were we? I
What we do? We were
think we went through the navigation pane, the object pane, and the message pane.
on the three principal database objects for creating our database, right? The outline, and then we did UDAs for dimensions or something.
Yeah, that's about describing the dimensions and how the combination works, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move ahead. Let me ask him to make me the presenter. How was yours? How was your weekend? Sorry, I forgot.
Oh, it was quiet. My wife's a little under the weather, so we were lying low, and I had two kids, so just doing the usual, swimming and other running some errands, and
Mm, you always can't have good weather out there. You gotta be very lucky to have a good weather on the weekend.
actually Saturday was very nice. Sunday was a little cold.
Oh, okay. Where do you live? You said Newcastle?
New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey. Okay. Did he make me the presenter? I think yes. Very good. Let me know once you
Okay.
see my screen. Yeah, can you see my screen? Yeah?
And you go ahead.
Okay, very good. All right, so now we are going to talk a little bit about these objects. These are
Okay.
three objects:
Yeah, I think we
outline,
covered.
rules. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying I think we covered this slide last time.
Yeah, we started and we went into rules files, and we talked about how we work on the rules file. And we we can go ahead.
Sure.
You should be very familiar with this database outlines.
Okay.
Yeah. um, okay. Now, it when you work on these applications, you know,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of very difficult to understand the whole hierarchy. Um, unless the developer, whoever it is, has been very careful in in naming these dimensions appropriately. in constructing the hierarchy in a very, very intelligent way. Um, and then how the consolidations move, what are the expressions, what are the member level functions, what are the member level um, operations performed. Basically, when you look at a member, the member, as it has a few constraints, I mean, your characters can't go more than a few characters. It's very hard to explain what that member is. So that's why you have aliases, you have labels, you also have the consolidation operators, where you get to understand what is happening, where is the data moving up to. So this is very important for you to understand how an application is built and what is that is achieved when you go up the ladder or up the tree. Okay, so how do you actually differentiate or get to understand what an application is doing? You can look at the dimension level for an overall understanding of what this application is about, what this database is about. You don't really have to go into until level 0 to understand what's happening. Okay, so if you look at our window or on the screen, whatever you see, so we'll start from the top. Okay, then on the top you have sales, and then it has a child which talks about time, and the time has another few children: quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and the time variances.
Mm-hmm.
And the sibling of time is accounts. You have to be, you should know the flow here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the sibling is accounts, and accounts again has children. Okay, account is the parent for gross margin percentage, balance sheet, analysis. Under that, you have scenario, who's another sibling for accounts. It's label only because there is no great operation done there. Why label only? We'll talk about it. Product, it's again label only. Customer, again label only. And then there is region total, which is attribute. Okay, so when you look at this hierarchy, you would at least be able to get some idea. Okay, what is this about? Okay, what could be the dense? What could be the sparse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the top two, from my understanding, are dense. It goes like this. The hierarchy always goes like this: dense and then sparse. Okay, the one on the top are always dense.
Okay.
And it's like an hourglass model. Now, when you look at the hourglass model, it's wide on the top, and then it narrows down into the center. It almost goes to negligible in the center, and then it starts from the narrow to getting wider again.
Right.
Now, the first half is your dense. Now, when I say dense, let's say the first dimension has some 100 members. Okay, so when I say 100 members, it could be 10 siblings and then Level 0 might be 90. Okay, it could be anything. I'm just giving you a number, 100 members. And the second dimension, let's say, has 50 members. The second dense dimension. That's how you work it out, okay? Now, which one goes first on the top? The one which is 100 members will go on the top, because that's how it starts. It starts with a dimension, a dense dimension, which is highly populated with the members. And the second next would be the second next dimension, or the dense dimension. And let's say you're done with your dense dimensions. Now you're going to talk about the sparse. Now it's different with sparse. It's the other way. With sparse, you start with the smaller dimensions, going up to the larger dimensions.
Okay.
Okay, that's why you see product and customer towards the bottom. Now, scenario is also a sparse. However, it has only few members in there. That's why it's on the top. Product will have millions of products. Customers will have millions and trillions of customers.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah.
So most of the consultants, or most of the developers, or most of the team members, they get horrified. They get very horrified when they look at the new application. And then they run into calculation scripts, they run into forms, they run everywhere to understand what is this application doing. But for me, it's different. When I look at a new application, I don't go everywhere. I try to understand what is that we are achieving by looking at the dimensions. Do not ever go down to level zeros. No. At level zeros, it's just the granularity, you don't really have to understand the granularity. You just have to understand how is this application functioning, what is that it is going to achieve. And it's very simple. Believe me, it's very simple. You don't go into granularity. You try to understand between level 1, level. I usually go between level 2s mostly, and I start there to understand. Okay, yeah. So it's it's not that hard. I find it, and it's tricky, but it's not that hard. It's just that you need to calm down and look at what is this application slowly, and then you'll try to, and you'll get it. It's very easy. You'll get it. If most of the times it's P&L. Okay. Now, what you need to understand is, no matter what, no matter how the business is, no matter what the customer is, eventually it's P&L. They might have lots of accounts, different names. You don't have to worry about the different names. It's just the nomenclature. Different expenses, they all together bind up to one parent. And then they toggle between the gross profits and the expenses and the net profit. This is the structure. All you need to understand is, okay, where are the consolidations done? What are you achieving? How is the data loaded? Are there more than few sources of data? Or is it just one source of data? How is it happening? That's all. Yeah. Try to look at the samples of the databases on Essbase. I suppose you said that you had access to the development service, right? Yeah.
Right.
So try and you try and figure it out. Sit down, give it 30 minutes or an hour, and try to understand at least two databases.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, it really helps. I I I mean, you get better at it. I personally prefer that,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you the feel. Different scenarios, different ways the companies work. Anyway, so we talked about rules files. Okay, now uh, you I mean, I know that you've understood, but what I'm what I'm trying to understand here is why would we need rule files?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So uh, um, yeah. So why rule files? What is the reason behind the rules files basically? I mean, from
Oh,
if you can recollect it from the last
yeah.
class,
So
whatever. Yeah.
a method to load the data into the database.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a method, but again, the reason is very simple. We have got two different environments, and when there is a difference of environments, when when one system doesn't talk exactly the same way the other system talks, you know what I mean? Then if two systems talk in the same way, you don't really need to try to make them understand. You have two different systems, they talk in different ways. That's why you need to bind them together. For the whole process of binding them together is done by the rules files. Rule files are at the application level, they are not at the OS level. Okay, so you basically bind the file which is at the OS level, and using the rules file, you bind it with the application level so that they can talk to each other and the data load is done. That's why we use rules files. Um, so what a rule file can do is what these points tell us. Okay, and you also need to understand um, rules files are split into a raw data frame and a rules frame. Now, it's not a great point, but it makes sense. Basically, what it is trying to explain you is, first you create the frame. When I say create the frame, it's basically mapping your outline with the file. Okay, and then and then the whole operation takes place. So this mapping is nothing but you're creating a rules frame. Okay, now what are the uses, or what you can do using these rule files? You can ignore certain fields in the data source. If your data source has some tens and hundreds of columns which are not necessary, you can ignore them. You can just ignore them. And then you can manage header information. For example, ignore extraneous headers. Let's say the column name is very large on the Excel or on the source file, basically. And the dimension name is not that long. If the dimension name is a part of the column name on the sheet, so you can truncate the other. Yeah, so that's what it talks about. Change the order or fields by moving, joining, splitting, and creating fields. Though, so this is again, mapping their columns with their dimensions. You can format the member names. Let's say the member names which are being loaded. Let's say new members come in, new products sometimes, like we talked last time. So you can format those member names as well. Create, accept, or reject criteria for a record. So you can create the criteria when to accept a record and when not to accept a record. Okay, these are the things which you do with the rules files. Now, when you're talking about calculation scripts, it's only BSO. There is no calculation script in ASO. What you could do only is you can write the scripts at the member level for the ASO application.
Quick question. So the calculation scripts are different from MDX scripts. MDX script, you said that's used to query the RDBMS database, right?
Yeah. The calculation scripts have a different extension.
Okay.
Okay. They are treated as different objects. Why do we need calculation scripts is a question. Okay. First thing, calculation scripts only work on BSOs. I mean, there is no provision of calculated scripts on ASOs. And why do you really need calculation script? The question comes because if you look at the dimensions, you already have the operators right against the member names. Agree? And you also have member formulas. See the gross margin, you already have a member formula listed there. So why calculation scripts? Any idea? Something which comes out of
any out of the box calculations. I mean, not out of the block. I mean, like anything that you have not defined in the outline.
Absolutely. If you want to slice your database, when I say slice, you want to look at a combination, okay, which is as per the requirement. Slicing and dicing are two different terms which we use to look at not the whole database but portions of database.
Yep.
Okay. Hyperion is intelligent by itself. It has the intelligence in calculating the whole outline with respect to the operators and the formulae which are on the member levels. It does that. Now, it is also intelligent that it will sense if there are any dirty blocks. I mean, it does the whole calculation. It's up to date. There are no dirty blocks. It's clean. All the operations are done as per the operators and as per the member formula. Okay. Let's say there is another load of data. Now it will identify that, okay, now I have the dirty blocks. It understands that few intersections have changed. I mean, the data at the few intersections have changed. And it's smart enough to just calculate the dirty blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is the normal flow. But This is very tiring and this is very time taking. So basically you turn that off. You don't need it. You don't need the automated one because we are intelligent. We don't want the intelligence of Essbase. We want to schedule whatever the operations we want to. We will run whatever the calculation scripts we want to at whatever time we need. You don't want to do anything by yourself. So you turn that intelligent calculation off whenever you're working with Essbase. The reason is simple. You don't want that to work by itself. Okay. How you're doing that is by using the calculation script. So you write a calculation script to achieve something, and then you run it whenever there is a necessity, whenever there is a requirement. This customer says, I want to look at this data in the very first week of the next month. You write a calculation script, you test it, you do whatever it is. Once it goes on to the production, you schedule it. So that he goes in during those hours or during those days, he should be able to dice it up or slice it up. Okay. So that's the calculation scripts. You should be well aware of SmartView. Yeah. So are you also aware that you can load the data through SmartView?
Yeah, though companies typically don't encourage that, right?
Absolutely. It's hazy. Not everyone can handle it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a write back. So what makes Essbase special? It's got the write back thing. You can write back into the database. That's the beauty. You don't like the values entered by the accountant. You want to make some adjustment. Make the adjustment, save it. It writes back to, it overrides. You don't have to do a special load. You want to input some value, you can do it. That's the beauty. Yeah, but it has its own consequences. However, not everyone has hands-on to the write back feature, or not everyone is given that right feature, right access, I should say. So, yeah, you control it in whatever way it's possible.
Right.
Now, this is basically data warehousing and why Essbase Studio. You've been to Essbase Studio?
No, I'm not been.
It's like EAS console. It's a bigger picture. It's in EAS console, you basically look at the objects, navigation pane and all that stuff. But in the Essbase Studio, you get to look at all the applications on that server. You get to look at all the databases under all the applications. You get to find out the outlines. You can do a lots of stuff from the Essbase Studio.
Okay.
So it's like interface where you can have access to lots of objects. You've been to, what do you call? Forget it. I can't recollect the name. I'll let you know. Okay, so prior to the release of 11.1.1, users could create links to transactional data in relational data warehouses by using a graphical suite of tools called integration services. So the integration services started in 11.1.1. What it basically does is it integrates all the different cubes, all the different types of cubes. Basically, you'll have different applications for finance, different applications for inventory, or under the same application, different databases for sales, different databases for payrolls. That's how it works. But what it does is it basically integrates them all together so that you can have a look, you can access them under one roof. That's Essbase Studio. Okay. All right, question and answers. We'll skip this part now. We'll do all, actually we can do it, but we'll leave for now and go to the next topic. I'll leave the question answers to you for our next class. Now, applications and databases. There is one major difference. Whenever I get to this topic, there's one thing which strikes to me very, very obviously. Applications and databases. There's one major difference between the two data models. One of them is two storage models. One of them is BSO and ASO. There's one big difference. In ASOs, one application can have only one database. But in BSO, one application can have multiple databases. Okay. Now, what is an application and what is a database? Any idea?
What is an application? That's a good question. Well, application is the name of that. Like, let's say we have a, an app that calculates the revenue, right? We have a specific Essbase cube that calculates the revenue calculation. That could be an application. And within that, we create an application, and the database is something that's underneath it.
Yeah. So revenue, can't it be a database?
Well, there will probably be a revenue. There will be a database that supports the revenue reporting, meaning, you could call it revenue also.
Yeah. So basically, the revenue is a database for you. Application is okay. So when I say application, it's basically most of the times it's the name of the organization. Okay, and it tells you if it is a planning application, if it is a finance application. It explains you the type, basically. And then under that, you will have databases, different databases. You can have one database for revenue. You can have one database for P&L. Different databases. That's up to you. That's how you differentiate. Now, one application can have different databases in BSO. Now, where are these application folders and the database folders located? So when you configure the Essbase, you will get your home path for the Essbase. Let me show you. Okay, so can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where so let me start from the beginning. So it's C drive, and then you will be asked to name a folder wherever you want to have this Hyperion installed, or the Essbase installed. So I named it as Hyperion. Under Hyperion, these folders are created automatically when the Essbase is installed. Okay, middleware. Under middleware, you will have your projects, user projects, and then there is another folder which is Oracle Hyperion. And then you will have the name of the server, whatever the server, that's Essbase server 1. Under that, you will have app, which is application.
Okay.
And under the app, you will have different applications. So one of these are the samples. There is an ASO sample, then there is a demo, whatever it is. Okay. Now under that, you will have the instance and then the databases. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what it's trying to tell you. Application folders and the database folders.
Right.
Okay. We'll come back to this slide when we talk about services. It explains the same thing. It explains that under the Essbase server, you will have app, and then under app, you will have different applications. Under that, you will have, let's say there is a big COP as an application. Under that, you will have the database. See that see the files db, dbb. Okay, I think it's very minute for you. Let me expand it. See this file db. This is the name of the database, and then there is dbb, which is a backup. There is tct, which is a transactional control file. OTL, whenever an OTL is, I mean, the outline is created. Whenever you create an outline, an OTL file is generated. And then there is index file. As soon as you create the outline, when you create the outline, the indexes also form. So the index file is also generated. Kernel file is already there. That's at the kernel level. And you will have rules files. All the rules files have to be saved with the extension RUL. You'll have a page file, which is basically, this is generated automatically whenever the data is loaded on the database. So if there is no data, if there is no load at all, you will not find page file. Okay. And then the calculation scripts are with extension CSC. That's how the whole folders are designed automatically when you install the Essbase. Now there is a name until you get to the Essbase server. That path is called as arbor path. It's so what is arbor path? It's basically going into the folder and then middleware and then walk up to Essbase server, the server name. That's the arbor path. I think we can stop here for today. And then we can catch up on this part, how to create the application step by step.
Okay.
Do you think you can have access to the dev server, by our next class?
Yeah, definitely. By Wednesday, right? Today's Monday night, so Thursday morning your time, I guess, right?
Wednesday morning my time. Probably, if nothing changes.
Wait, today is, oh, okay.
Monday.
I see what you mean. So, and no, you said tomorrow there's no class. Today is Monday night for me, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Today it's, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tuesday morning for me. Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday.
Definitely. So, yeah, I definitely will be able to. So it doesn't matter, right? ASO or BSO, whichever, right?
BSO would be very fine
Okay, BSO. Okay, I think BSO. We'll check. Yeah.
because we have to work on Cal scripts and all that stuff. So
Okay.
you may need BSO.
Oh, BSO. Okay. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Let me hold on. If you have a couple of just a quick minute, I can share my screen and you can tell me which one it is.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll make you the presenter.
Give me 1 second. Let me pull it.
Take your time. Take your time. No problem. I think what we could do is, I think we can talk about the storage properties and the other stuff in our next class.
Oh, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, expand that.
Yeah, it's a little slow.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Oh yeah, there's yeah. So my admin he created a. Actually, he created, but we can when we do our exercise, I guess we can create a new. So
Yeah.
there's the ASO.
Yeah, we can create a new one. No problem.
Oh, excellent. So I think we're in good shape then.
Yeah, beautiful. And before we start, I think we have a couple of topics to be discussed. I completely
Okay.
forgot the storage properties, and that would take one class. That's all. And then we can get on to this. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
Friday we will start this.
Oh
Thursday
no.
we will go through that topic.
Thursday or Friday. So should I? I know tomorrow night you said there's no class. Should I log in Wednesday night?
Absolutely.
Wednesday same 10 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah.
With Thursday morning for you. Okay.
If there is any change, I will let you know.
Okay. Thank you. Have a safe trip, Mom.
No problem, sir. So how is it feeling? I mean, how do you think it's shaping across?
I think it's really good. I'm taking plenty of notes, and I think this time around, I used to just read, Google a lot of stuff like ASO, BSO, and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
feel this beneficial learning it like the proper way. I'm always a fan of like formal training. Like I've gone to I've gone to PM, HFM, FR Studio, more recent CME, all classes, HFM rules and all that. So, I go to the Oracle class itself because they're sponsored by my company. So,
Yeah.
so So I always appreciate the formal training as opposed to trying to like learn something on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'll call it
Yep.
a day. You
Yep,
have a very good
definitely,
night.
and we'll bang through the exercises, and hopefully you can take the planning cloud lesson also.
Yeah, I have a different resource actually, and
Okay.
he is very good as well. So
Okay. All right.
yeah,
We'll cover that later.
yeah, no worries. I mean, you will like it anyway.
Excellent. All right.
All
Thank you.
right. Okay. Thank you very much. You have a very good one.
Today.